Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hyacinth Armstrong Vaughan, and I am the Regional Coordinator for the BIOPAMA program. And today's session will be looking at an overview of the action component for the BIOPAMA program, and specifically looking at the recent call for medium grants. So for those of you not familiar with BIOPAMA, BIOPAMA stands for Biodiversity and Protected Areas Management. It's an initiative of the Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific Group of States, and it's financed by the European Union. It's the 11th European Development Fund. Implementation is a global partnership between the IUCN, which is bringing our expertise in biodiversity conservation and protected areas, and linking with the Joint Research Center of the European Commission, the JRC, their scientific and technical knowledge. BIOPAMA is in its second phase, running for 6 years from 2017 to 2023. There are 79 countries in this program, and we're looking at supporting within this area 3 billion people whose livelihoods depend on the natural resources contained in these countries. That's more than half of the world's 35 biodiversity hotspots and 9,000 protected areas, both terrestrial and marine. BIOPAMA's mission. We're aiming to reinforce the management and governance of protected and conserved areas in the 79 countries through better use and monitoring of information and capacity development and governance. And how we aim to do that is through tailored support to protected areas and protected area authorities in these countries to address priorities for improved management and governance. The regional observatories are our primary source for providing that support. These are research and resource hubs that exist within each of the regions, and they are meant to collate, compile, support data management and information related to protected areas, and hopefully leading to supporting informed decisions that are made with respect to the management of these resources. The reference information systems is the platform on which the regional observatories are functioning. It's an online system that was created by our Joint Research Center partners, and this platform is an open source platform, meaning that the information that is provided there is free, relatively free, but of course, knowing that the type of information we will present, there will be restrictions associated with it depending on the type of information. And the action component is the third element of the BIOPAMA program that we are using to facilitate the improvements of management and governance of biodiversity and natural resources in the countries. For the Caribbean region, the implementation is a partnership between the IUCN's Regional Office for Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean, or MAC is the Spanish acronym. The Joint Research Center, as I mentioned before, of the European Commission, and our regional implementing partner is the University of the West Indies. Our program countries are listed here. There are 15 in total: Guyana and Suriname in the south, on the South American continent, the insular Caribbean islands, including Haiti and the Dominican Republic, not the overseas territories, unfortunately, and Belize in Central America. In terms of what we are focusing on in the Caribbean, we are looking at improving the information that we have to support decision making, and we're doing this through our regional observatory, which is the Caribbean Protected Areas Gateway. The URL for accessing the platform of the gateway is caribbean-rris.biopama.org, and the gateway is our data and information management hub, and providing analyses and support through development of reports, access to assessment tools, etc. Those are the types of work that we're hoping that we can provide through the gateway. Alongside the work of the Gateway, we are building capacity for effective management, keeping in mind BIOPAMA's mission. So we are working to promote the use and application of management effectiveness within our countries and at their sites. And we have and are continuing regional and national training workshops on management effectiveness tools, and also providing technical support to countries for implementation of assessments at sites. And then, of course, the action component, we are working to facilitate the implementation of this grant facility that is meant to support on-the-ground actions aimed at strengthening protected areas and natural resources management, effectiveness, and governance. So the main focus of the webinar today will be these areas here. I will give you an overview of the action component, the general objectives, grant types, and budgetary allocations. And then we will look more deeply into the medium grant process itself, highlighting areas in eligibility, the IUCN, ESMS, financials, application procedures, and the assessment and evaluation process. So the action component, the main objective of this grant-making facility is to improve biodiversity conservation in priority areas through funding tangible on-the-ground actions that are addressing management and governance priority actions identified by diagnostic tools. And I will explain some of these key areas such as priority actions and diagnostic tools as I go along. Specific objectives are to enhance the management and governance of protected and conserved areas in priority areas. So for example, strengthening on-site infrastructure, providing equipment for patrolling, etc. Strengthening the legal framework required to achieve effective biodiversity conservation, and supporting local communities' initiatives aiming to enhance the livelihoods of local people whilst effectively contributing to protected areas management. There's an overall budget of 21 million euros allocated to the implementation of the action component across the 79 countries. The countries have been divided into 6 regions, and they're listed here. Caribbean, Pacific. Africa is divided into 4 regions: West, Central, East, and Southern. And each of those regions has been allocated roughly 3 million euros to implement the action component. There's an additional 3 million in the full competition category, and this is funding that we will potentially use to supplement any calls that we have where we may have more than, where we would have proposals that are good enough to meet the funding requirement, but we don't have sufficient funds. This is an area that we will potentially tap into to facilitate funding additional projects. In terms of types of grants, so we are looking to have 3 different types of grants. We'll have SWIFT and technical small grants, and those will be in the vicinity of up to 50,000 euros. Their implementation is from maximum of 12 months, and their implementation is meant to happen at the local level or site level. We will have small grants, which will be between 50,000 euros, a minimum of 50,000 euros and a maximum of 100,000 euros. Minimum duration of 12 months, maximum duration of 24 months. And their implementation will be at the local level and or national level. And then the medium grants, which we are into now, is a minimum amount of 100,000 euros, maximum amount of 400,000 euros, maximum duration of 36 months, and implementation is meant to occur at the national to regional level scale. So you should be familiar by now. If you are not, then you can find more information on the action component at the portal. The URL is action.biopama.org. And this is where you will access all the information that you need to know with respect to the action component and specifically the medium grants. There are 3 documents that have been developed to facilitate the process. And specifically for the medium grants, we have the operational manual, the guidelines for applicants for the medium grants, and we have the ESMS manual for applicants. These are all available on the portal, and they are integral to understanding the process and how to apply for the calls for proposals. Specific details with respect to the medium grants. So of the 21 million euros that has been allocated across the regions, approximately 7.2 million euros have been allocated for the medium grants across the 6 regions. So this amounts to approximately 1.2 million euros for each region, which broken down gives us roughly 3 medium grants per region. We have, as I said before, a minimum budget. We expect a minimum budget of 100,000 euros to a maximum of 400,000 euros. A duration of 12 months minimum, maximum 36 months. And the start date should be no earlier than January 1st, 2020. And the latest that the project any funded project can go for the medium grants is December 1st, 2022. We are restricted by the duration of the actual BIOPAMA program, which is scheduled to end in June of 2023. So all our activities related to the action component need to be wrapped up by this time to allow us to be able to consolidate all our reporting to close the project on time in June 2023. Okay, so let's move on to eligibility. And I know this is an area that is a little gray for a lot of persons. So eligibility by applicants. Those applicants who are eligible must be a registered public entity or a registered nonprofit legal entity, a registered small or medium enterprise. We will not be accepting applications from individuals or sole traders. The applicants must also be a national, subnational, or local government agency, be a protected area or conserved area, be a non-governmental organization, a local community-based organization, a regional organization carrying out field projects, an international organization carrying out field projects, and also be responsible for the preparation and management of the project. We are not going to support applicants who are acting as an intermediary, meaning that you are working with the main applicant and you are submitting on their behalf. That is not something that we will accept. We do encourage consortiums and partnerships, but it is not mandatory. And just to clarify, a lead applicant is the main entity that is submitting the application and leading the project implementation. The co-applicant would be a supporting agency that will be involved in the implementation alongside with the lead applicant in the project. So based on the different types of organizations, I will explain the conditions of eligibility for applying to the medium grants. So the categories of local CSOs, local nonprofits, local community-based organizations, small socio-professional or for-profit organizations, so your small-scale enterprises, municipalities and cities may only apply as co-applicants in the medium grant call. So you must partner with another eligible organization, meaning another organization that can be lead in the medium grants process. These types of organizations will need to partner with those other organizations to be able to access the funding for the medium grants. If your organization is a protected or conserved area NGO managing protected areas, you may apply as a lead applicant if you're part of a consortium with other organizations at national, regional, or international level, or you may apply as a co-applicant. You cannot apply as a lead applicant by yourself. You have to have a consortium. Organizations that are national or regional networks of protected areas, national civil society organizations, national NGOs, national nonprofit organizations, national authorities, agencies, bodies, and services, these entities may apply as a lead applicant or as a co-applicant, and they can do that on their own. But we, as I said before, we do encourage partnerships and consortiums in the development and implementation of your project proposals. If you're an EU member state organization, an EU overseas countries and territories organization, regional organizations, and international organizations that are under the OECD category, you are eligible to apply as a lead applicant or a co-applicant if the following criteria are met. You have to operate, your project must take place in one of the project countries, one of the Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific group of state countries. And your proposal must be co-designed. You must have a formal letter of support, and you must have demonstrated experience working in the country where the project will take place. Additionally, for these organizations, your proposed project must be based on a partnership or consortium. It must show equitable division of the work within the project proposal, must have clear identified priorities, and of course, demonstrated prior consultation. Where can we have, what are some of our eligible actions? So firstly, where are these actions going to be taking place? And we are requesting that they take place in priority areas in the wider conservation seascapes and landscapes, where their importance is justified by diagnostic tools or strategic documents in the ACP countries, including the small island developing states. So for example, KBAs, marine managed areas, key landscapes, seascapes for conservation, other protected and conserved areas are eligible. We have, as far as was possible, we have tried to compile a list of priorities for actions. And these are specific actions that have been identified by countries within documents, whether it's management plans or national strategies from assessments, etc. We have tried to compile that information for countries, and it's available on the action component portal. When you go to the home page and you scroll down, there's a section called Priorities for Actions, and then there's a section for the Caribbean. When you click on that, you will be able to see what we have been able to compile for priorities for actions. Now, I would say this, that the priorities that are listed in the action portal are not an exhaustive list. It's basically a desk review that we would be able to compile in the months leading up to the launch of the action component, but it is not a complete list by any means. So the priorities that are listed there are only indicative. There are clearly a myriad of priorities that exist across our 15 countries in the Caribbean. And so once your proposal is able to show justification for why your priority is should be funded, whether it's listed in this list of priorities or not, then it will be considered. I would like to say this as well. We would appreciate if you can provide us with the priorities, as we would like to improve on the information that we do have for subsequent calls, because there will be follow-up calls for the SWIFT small grants, the technical grants, and the small grants. So I've been mentioning this term diagnostic tools, and our actions that we are hoping to fund, we would like them to be supported by evidence that they are a priority. So management and governance assessment tools, for example, the Management Effectiveness Tracking tool, the Rapid Assessment, RAPAM tool, enhancing our heritage toolkit, how is your MPA doing, and any other assessment and governance assessment tools that have been used at your sites or would be suitable types of evidence for why your priority is being looked at. Other documents, as I mentioned before, management plans, national biodiversity strategies and action plans, strategic documents that also would have evidence of why priorities are identified for an area. And in the absence of these previous types of documentation, we will also accept validated studies. And these are basically any types of research work that has been done within a protected area that the management authority has endorsed or validated. All of these types of information we will consider as diagnostic tools that you can submit alongside your application for justifying why your proposal focus is a priority. As you develop your proposals, I want to just stress that the eligible actions that will be funded, they must address, as I said before, clear priorities in terms of protected and conserved areas management and governance, sustainable use of natural resources and livelihoods of surrounding local communities of the priority areas. And they must be identified by diagnostic tools. They must be consistent with the specific objectives of BIOPAMA 2. They must achieve tangible results and impacts in the field expressed through clear indicators included in the project logical framework. They must comply with the IUCN's Environmental and Social Management System. They must enable data and information sharing from the project with the BIOPAMA regional observatories and the reference information system. They must be cost efficient and sustainable. They must be of practical field application and limited in time. As I indicated before, we have to complete all our project activities related to the action component by December 1st, 2022. Activities with core benefits beyond conservation. So for example, those that facilitate human well-being or climate change mitigation and adaptation will be prioritized as well. So to give you a few examples, and the examples I'm giving, again, it's not an exhaustive list. It is not, these are not the only areas that we will support, types of activities that we will support, but just to give you an idea of what we're looking for. So activities that look at supporting protected areas planning and management, so collection of baseline data, monitoring activities, including through IMET. IMET is the Integrated Management Effectiveness Tool, which was developed under the BIOPAMA program. So it's another management effectiveness assessment tool. Any social and governance assessments, monitoring those activities through those types of assessments, elaborating and updating of management plans, creation of infrastructure for management. These are the types of activities under protected areas planning and management that can be considered. Effective governance arrangements involving local people living in and around protected areas and conserved areas, and the mitigation of threats in priority areas. Equitable management of priority areas, law enforcement, particularly to control wildlife trafficking, looking at specifically capacity building of managers and or rangers on law enforcement, intelligence linked to combat illegal poaching and wildlife trafficking, dialogue with communities. Other activities, types of activities, enhancement of institutional and legal frameworks for biodiversity conservation and sustainable development. So for example, revision of the legal framework, capacity building, development of training materials and technical advice are types of activities that can be considered. Climate change mitigation, resilience and adaptation strategies in priority areas, and sustainable livelihoods of local communities, vulnerable peoples, and indigenous communities living in priority areas. All of these are examples of the types of activities that we will consider. There are activities that we will not consider. These are purchasing land or involuntary settlement of people, resettlement of people. We will not support activities on indigenous people's lands and territories without free, prior, and informed consent. Activities on land contested by local communities or indigenous peoples. Activities that negatively affect physical, cultural resources and their use. Removing or altering any physical property, including sites with archaeological, paleontological, historical, religious, or unique natural values will not be eligible. Activities significantly affecting vulnerable groups or indigenous people, and those that include procuring, handling, storing, and use of lawful pesticides. These types of activities will not be acceptable for consideration in the action component. So moving on to the IUCN's environmental and social management system. Now this is a critical aspect of the application process. It is a critical element of IUCN's work and approach to our work. And so it is built into this process, our grant process. So proposals are going to be appraised for their potential to address negative environmental and social impacts, or to foster best practices in this regard. And the IUCN's ESMS process is guided by 8 overarching principles, and those are the rights-based approach, stakeholder engagement, free, prior, and informed consent, gender equality and women empowerment, vulnerable groups, accountability, most stringent standard, and precautionary principle. And we have 4 standards that also guide the IUCN ESMS, and those are involuntary resettlement and access restrictions, indigenous peoples, biodiversity and sustainable use of natural resources, and cultural heritage. The image on the right is where you would see basically what the ESMS process is focused on and the types of risks that we are looking at. So in your proposal development, we will be looking at screening the proposals for potential environmental and social impacts based on information provided by yourselves or all the applicants in the ESMS screening questionnaire. That questionnaire you can access in Annex 5 of the guidelines for medium grants. And the following areas will be looked at. Stakeholder engagement. Have you engaged stakeholders during the project design, particularly women? Have you been able to raise any concerns with respect to this category? With respect to the ESMS standards, the 4 standards that I just listed, have any of them been triggered by the types of activities proposed? And are there any risks associated with them? Other social and environmental impacts, including risk of aggravating gender imbalance and risks to vulnerable groups, that will be looked at. And with respect to climate change, we'll be looking to see if does the project fail to take effects of climate change appropriately into consideration, and as such might increase vulnerability of the ecosystems or the communities or jeopardize the effectiveness of the project activities or sustainability of intended changes. These are all areas that will be considered, and the information that is provided in the ESMS screening questionnaire will be reviewed by myself to determine whether, based on the information that you've provided, if there are any risks that need to be addressed going forward in the proposal, in finalizing the proposal and implementation, if the project is approved. So as it has indicated, categories will be assigned to the various types of risks, and measures to avoid or mitigate those risks will be identified. And the risks categories are either low, medium, or high. And so I strongly encourage you to read the manual that is available. It's quite clear, I think, and clearly lays out the process. And the questionnaire, as I indicated, is in the Annex 5 of the guidelines. You will be submitting the questionnaire as part of the application process that would need to be completed and uploaded on the Action Component portal. Okay, with respect to the financials, and this is basically the budgetary aspect of the medium grants, developing your budgets. Some key points to note: you have to have a minimum of 5% of the total budget as co-finance. And co-finance is not in-kind support, so not equipment, goods, or services. It must represent actual expenditure. And the 5% co-finance cannot be provided by another EU-funded project. The applicant must show sufficient capacity in financial and technical management of the proposed project. So you must be able to show that you can manage the amount of funding that we are providing. We are providing 95% of your budget in this funding process. So you must show the capacity to manage that amount of money. 2 types of budgets are: you can show your budgets in 2 ways. You can choose actual cost, which is expenditure approved based on receipt, or simplified cost, which is unit costs, lump sums, and/or flat rates. The management fee, which is the indirect costs, or what we might call overhead costs, of 7% over subtotal of the direct eligible costs of the project budget. That is how it needs to be determined. With respect to the fact that you have a consortium, you have multiple partners within the project proposal, the 7% is not allocated to any one partner's budget. It is on the entire budget, the combined budget. And in your financials, funding support cannot be provided to third parties through subgrants. So so what we mean here in terms of third parties, within your consortium, you are the lead applicant, and your co-applicants would require access to the funding. You cannot provide the funding to them through a sub-grant. It is not acceptable under the EU regulations. What would happen is if your proposal is successful, a partnership, an example of a partnership type agreement will be shared with you that would comply with the EU regulations. You would be able to secure services from consultants, etc., but you will not be able to sub-grant any of the project funds to a third party. Not being a financial guru in any means, I am going to direct you to where you can get very specific guidelines for developing the budget. There's a presentation that was developed, and that is available on the portal. So the URL, the specific URL is action.biopama.org/medium-grants. And if you scroll down on that page to useful resources, there is a document or access to a document called Budget Advice, BIOPAMA Action Component, Medium Grants 2019. Here you will be able to get a full presentation that looks at all the various elements of developing your budget, including the specifics on co-financing, on how to actually allocate and represent your different categories of expenditure in travel or staff or whatever the case may be, and also how you can differentiate the partners within the budget. So I would advise you to have a look at that presentation, and if you have any questions related to that, after having looked at that, then you can reach out to me and I can try my best to respond to your queries with respect to developing the budget. In terms of the application procedure now, so the application process is a single stage process. We are not doing the concept and then doing a full proposal. We're going straight to full proposal and final selection. So we are doing this as an online process. The reason being we have the online process is that we would like all of the information that is provided for the action component to be able to feed into the reference information system and our regional observatories, because the information that is provided will also be useful for facilitating improvements in management and governance of our protected areas. The application form is available as a PDF in Annex 6 of the Action Component Operational Manual. I've had requests to have a Word version of the application form provided. Unfortunately, one is not available, and we do not want to run the risk of giving you a Word version document and then you forget to actually complete the application form online. You will not be able to upload the Word document into the online portal. You will have to go into the online portal itself and fill in each section of the application form. So we understand the need to have an application form that will allow for teams to work on developing the full proposal. So I'll ask you to use the PDF version. It's not the greatest version, but we don't want to run the risk of you completing the application in Word form, but not completing it in its entirety on the online portal. Because if it's not completed online and you submit, if it's not completed online completely and you submit, we will not be able to accept your proposal. In the event that when you submit your proposal, there are technical difficulties, and this is in extreme cases where there's an electrical or internet failure, we will accept the application submission via email, copied to me, well, sent to me, sorry, and copied to the BIOPAMA Grant Secretariat team. However, I'd like to caution and advise, as far as is possible, do not wait until the actual deadline to submit your application. Remember that we are working in 79 countries, so we will be receiving multiple applications from all of these countries. So please bear that in mind when you are looking to finalize your proposals for submission. And guaranteed, technology always fails when we need it the most. So please bear that in mind. Your application must include the annexes. So you must submit the budget, you must submit the logical framework, you must submit the environmental social management system questionnaire. We need those for your application to be properly evaluated. We will not accept handwritten proposals, and the applications must be either in English or in French. Those are the working languages for the program. So to give you an idea of the assessment process, which is in the guidelines as well, outlined in the guidelines. So we are here, we've launched the call, and you are in the process of developing your proposals for submission. When the call for proposals is closed, all eligible proposals would be reviewed by regional advisory committees, and we have one established here for the Caribbean of independent experts. They will review the proposals and make recommendations, and those recommendations will be sent to a central validating committee for further review and award of the proposals. I want to state here that the IUCN will not be responsible for making the final decision on who receives, which grants receive awards. The European Union and other members of the validating committee will be making that final decision. IUCN, through the process of the regional advisory committees, will only be making recommendations based on the various criteria that we've outlined. We will be making recommendations on which, to the validating committee, for which proposals should be considered for an award. So your award criteria will be based on technical coherence and understanding, financial coherence and organizational capacities, sustainability of the activities and replication potential, complementarity, synergy of the project with other initiatives, and communication. The technical coherence and understanding carries the maximum of 55 points, to largest amount of the different categories. That's the biggest point category. Proposals that receive a final total score above the threshold of 65 will be submitted to the BIOPAMA Validating Committee for the final award decision. Your proposal must meet a minimum of 65 points to be considered for a final award. And the definitions and different aspects of the award categories are outlined in the guidelines. So to wrap up I just want to remind you of some key specific areas that you need to consider when you are developing your proposal. Your activities must aim to achieve tangible results and have a sustainable impact. The environmental, social, management ramifications of the BIOPAMA projects will be taken very seriously. So it's a critical element of the project, as I indicated earlier. Activities with co-benefits beyond the conservation will be prioritized. Stakeholder engagement is fundamental, so you must, as far as possible, include and involve stakeholders in the preparation and of their proposal and, of course, implementation. Proposals will be checked for complementarity and synergy with other conservation efforts. And I would like to stress for you to please, please, please read the guidelines. The guidelines, the operational manual, the ESMS manual. They contain everything that you need to know with respect to the grant call and the various elements of the application process. And where you are not sure of anything, then you are welcome to email myself, and I will answer your query to the best of my ability. And if I don't know, then I seek additional support so I can provide you with the answers you need. So a reminder for deadlines. So the deadline for requesting any clarifications from the BIOPAMA Action Component Regional Focal Points is the 14th of September. The times that are identified are the Belgian time zone, that's the Central European time zone, which translates for us on this side of the world to 5 p.m. or just before 6 p.m. at Atlantic Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Standard Time. 16:59 for Eastern Standard Time, so that would be Jamaica, and 15:59 for Central Standard Time, so Central America. Those are the times that we need to be mindful of with respect to these deadlines. The deadline for submission, as I said, is the 21st of September, and please don't wait until the very last day to submit. And again, remember, it is not 11:59 p.m. our time, but these times that I have noted here for your various time zones. Once the proposals have been submitted and reviewed, the Regional Advisory Committee would, the regional teams will develop a consolidated evaluation report, which will include the recommendations of the Regional Advisory Committee, and those will be submitted to the Validating Committee on the 10th of November. The Validating Committee will return hopefully in 7 days' time with notification on the projects that would be awarded the medium grant. And hopefully, if all the processes go well, those proposals that have been awarded grants, those agreements will be signed by the 31st of December 2019. And I will also indicate here as well that the IUCN headquarters based in Switzerland is the IUCN entity that will be issuing the grant agreements. The grant agreements will not be made with the regional offices of IUCN. The regional offices of IUCN will be providing monitoring and evaluation support to the grant awardees once the grant agreements have been signed. So you can get, as I said, further information is available on the Action portal. And I want to direct you again to the Useful Resources section of the Action portal, where you can get specific updates on frequently asked questions. We have been compiling and tabulating questions from across the regions. So the file that is currently on the website, I think is up to date to probably last week. when we would have received frequently asked questions. So you can have a look there to see if any of your questions that you have not yet broached with me are there and can be answered. There are some that I have received within the last week that I'm still to respond on. So I have received them and I will respond to you. I'm waiting on some responses, some clarification, I should say, on some issues for those questions before I can respond. As I said before, you can also see the budget advice, and there's also guidance for the grant actors. So I think defining who the lead actors are and what your role is, co-applicants, what your role is. The operational manual, as I indicated before, is also available. And there's also another presentation on, overall presentation on the action component that you can also refer to. And of course, you can also reach out to me. My contact information is here, hyacinth.armstrongvaughan@iucn.org. You can also write to me with your questions, and as I said, I can respond to you as soon as possible once I have the answers that are required for you. Okay, so that's pretty much the overview that I wanted to provide to you on the action component. We can take some questions. I am going to try to scroll through because I assume there are questions that have been typed. So I'm going to see if I can navigate to see if I can find the start of those questions. All right, let's see. Okay, so Winston is asking.
Yes, and my apologies. There's a major typo there. It should be we cannot find the template for the ESMS question.
Right, the template for the ESMS questionnaire is actually so you can download it from the application itself. If you are able to access the online portal.
We cannot find it. There, in the technical application template, it says it's provided below. But if you scroll down below, there's nothing there.
Okay, I think I started to respond to you. Hold on, let me get my email opened so I can respond properly. Okay, so in step 6 of the technical application, there is a section to download the template. I'm going to switch my computers because I can actually show you better that way.
Okay.
So let me navigate out of let me switch screens here.
Because I'm looking at step 7, where it covers the environmental and social management system.
Okay, can you see my screen? So what I'm in right now is the technical application section. So this is what, when you go into your online application, this is what you're going to see, your technical application. So once you complete all of this information on first page, sorry, I'm just trying to navigate off of my screen here. Let's go to next steps. You complete the information in here as well. So I'm going to try to get you to step 6. So step 6 here, environmental and social management system.
So it's step 6 of the online portal.
Of the online portal application.
Oh, okay.
It's available here. I am sure it's also available in, I didn't check before we came online, the operational manual and the guidelines, but I will double check for you and confirm it if it is there. But this is where you can also access.
Okay. So just so you know, it's ESMS questionnaire is covered under step 7 and the actual document, and we could not find.
Okay. On the application form.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it.
So this is clear. Thank you.
Okay. I understand what you're saying now. So that basically the template, the PDF template, does not, in terms of the numbering, does not align with the online platform.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll make a note of that. Yes, so your other question, input information to the log frame in the online portal. We recognize that that is a challenge, and we are working with the portal developer. I have not gotten an update on the status of that, but it's something that we were aware of. So as soon as I get confirmation on that being workable now, I will let you know.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Right. Okay, so with respect to your project, you're working with multiple protected areas on one island and involve some national stakeholders besides local ones. Should the project be identified as a local project? I will ask this question, and I'm not sure if my response would be the correct one. Would you consider the local protected areas to be a potential system of protected areas within the country? This is Winston again.
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, the person working on the project is not on the call, and I am not. I think the answer is yes, but I don't. Sheldon Cohen is on the call. Sheldon, if you can hear this, do you happen to know?
Yeah, I can hear. Hyacinth, your question was
whether the local sites, so the multiple sites, would they be considered like a national system of protected areas?
They're part of the national system, yeah, sure.
Okay. Let me confirm whether it should be national or local based on that. My thought is that it should be national and not local.
Oh, okay, because we were thinking local.
I mean, you're working at local sites, but it's multiple sites, so
yeah, okay.
I would consider that as national, but I will confirm that and let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. That's my interpretation anyway. Grassroots volunteer. Okay, so the next question, one of our proposed co-applicants is a grassroots volunteer organization that does not have a bank account, audited financial statements, or operational standard operating procedures. Can this organization still qualify as a co-applicant? I will have to get back to you on that one. Winston, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure of that one and how that can be managed. So let me revert to you on that one.
Okay, thank you.
And does IUCN plan to hold another round of medium grants after this one? Potentially no, and primarily because of the time frame that we have for implementation. We are in the end of 2019, and the maximum duration for the medium grants is 36 months, which is 3 years. And given that BIOPAMA is scheduled to end in June of 2023, if we were to do another round of medium grants, we would have to do it literally like right now. And so no, we probably only have one medium grants call, but we may have more than one of the other types of grants that I mentioned, calls for those. But as I said, in terms of the amount of medium grants that we can fund, we are limited right now to 3 per region. But depending on the quality of the proposals that we receive, if we receive, more than 3 with a threshold of 65, then we are in a good position to request that additional funding be allocated to the medium grants budget so that we can accommodate those proposals. That is a discussion that will have to take place at the level of the donor of the European Union once that proposal review process has completed. Under number 4 in the technical application template, organizational capacity, we are requested to attach our latest activity report and identify its information system. What do you mean by activity report and the information system? I will get back to you on the activity report, but the information system is basically something like the reference information system that we were talking about, that I mentioned earlier. Does the information exist online on any type of platform that we can access?
Any kind of online platform?
So any online location. So the reference information system is a database type platform that would provide information on protected areas within the project countries, and associated documents would be available for those locations, the management plans or assessment reports, that type of thing would be the type of information that would be available on the information system. So ideally, we would like to have access to your activity reports and your work. So if it does exist on an information system, other than, well, if it does exist in an information system, we'd like to know where that is, because the possibility exists that we can link directly to that and have that information be shared through the regional observatories through our information system. So that's the logic behind asking that question. I will ask what we mean by activity report. I assume it would be like an annual report of your work, your organization's work, or project summaries, that type of thing.
Oh, well, I hope it's an annual report, because that would be on our website. But any kind of, we were wondering, did you mean some kind of a progress report? And that, of course, would not be available anywhere on a platform.
Right.
So any clarification you can provide about what you mean by activity report will be helpful.
Sure. I will follow up on that and get back to you. Okay. Okay, then Danelia has asked, is there a minimum time for the medium grants? Right, the minimum time is actually 12 months and the maximum is 36 months. All right, I think I answered the question on the templates. When will the call for SWIFT and technical small grants and small grants be opened? I am not sure at this point, but I will anticipate the beginning of 2020. We will open up the call for those grants. We want to get the medium grant process completed, so most likely we will do the small SWIFT technical small grants and small grants in the first quarter of 2020. But you will be notified for sure when the call comes out. And if you are not receiving any notifications from BIOPAMA or the project, you can sign up specifically on the action portal for notifications. If you go to the homepage of the action portal and you scroll down, there is a sign up section there where you can input your information to receive notifications from BIOPAMA.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to know, based on what I'm seeing there, will this be available to, where would this step-by-step template be available to persons who are interested in participating?
So what you're currently seeing on the screen?
Yes.
You have to actually sign on to the action portal. So let me just navigate out of here for you. So when you are on the Action Component portal, this is the home page of the Action Component portal.
Okay.
Right. Log in and sign up.
BIOPAMA.org.
I'm going to log out.
Okay.
Right. There you'll be able to create an account. So let me sign out because I'm into my account. I will log out. You will be taken to this page. So if you do not have an account, then you sign up for one. Here.
Okay. Will that also work for this? If you are not successful in the medium grant, will that be also for the small grants?
Yes, I don't think we'll be creating another portal for the small grants and the small grants. So this platform will potentially hold for, I think, all of the grant mechanisms, the grant categories, I should say. All right, so you sign up here, and then once you have your login, then you'll be able to see that dashboard that I showed you, and you'll be able to do the application process.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yes, I attend, Dominic. Solution. I am.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was asking the process that we're currently going through with the PME assessments. We need to treat that separate from this application for a grant?
When you say treat them separately, what do you mean?
I'm saying that if we make an application for a grant, because the plan was for us to go ahead with this, should we not include it in the grant in an application, or should we? Actually
conducting the assessments?
Yes.
I think you can now include the assessments in the application, in the implementation of the project.
The implementation, okay,
yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. The other question I had was with regards to, well, I think whether you can save for later, but I think that I noticed that was answered. That you can go in and start, if say once they've started the application, and I can come back to it. Yeah.
Yes, it does allow for that. What it also allows for is, so if you are the main person putting the information, you can work with it offline on your computer, and when you get internet access again, it should automatically save. But that's a tricky one for technologies. But I would say work with it once you have online access, once you have an internet connection. Work with inputting the information and saving your progress as you go. And you can also use the template to work away from the computer. But again, bear in mind, the final application must be completed in this dashboard on the online platform.
what has happened to me is that when the call was made, I signed up, but recently I tried to sign back on and I was having some difficulty. How can that be resolved if that difficulty continues?
So you signed in and you forgot your password, or you?
I think that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay, I will have to ask.
Okay.
Because that would be at the level of the portal developer.
Okay.
There's a way for them to get access to your.
Access to my okay. One final question is in terms of how we organize locally to submit an application. We've been having a discussion on that, and we are thinking of one application. But following this webinar, I'm realizing that maybe an organization like the Trust can probably consider submitting its own application, whereas at the national level we focus on one. I don't know how you see that.
There is no limit to the number of applications that a country can submit.
Mm-hmm.
There is a limit to the number of proposals that an applicant can submit as lead applicant. I think you can only submit 2 applications per region. You can be co-applicant on others. So that would be the limitation there. But there's no limit to the number of proposals that can be submitted from a country. As I said, working where you can have as many partnerships as possible. If there's overlap of work and synergies, etc., that would be better.
Okay.
But it is not mandatory that it occur that way.
Okay. All right. I hear you. Okay.
There are some other questions in here. Sorry? Hello?
Sorry, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Hyacinth. My name is Alexander. I'm calling from Canary, and I just had a quick follow-up question to the last one about multiple submissions. Is it 2 in each category, or is it 2 across all categories? Can we submit, Sorry, go ahead.
It's only 1 category of in the medium grants.
Okay, sorry. So it's possible to submit a medium grant and then, 2 of the smaller ones as, a lead applicant or co-applicant.
Yeah. So what I described for you is strictly for the medium grants. You can only apply as a lead applicant for 2 medium grants, maximum 2 medium grants.
Okay.
The conditions for the small and the small grants have not been shared as yet. For those. So we're dealing just with the medium grants.
So the smaller grants will be launched at a different date. Sorry.
Yes, those will be launched at a different date. And the conditions for those will be available for those at that time.
Okay, great. And then I just had 2 other quick questions since I'm on the line, if that's okay. Sure. I wanted to ask about marine managed areas, if they qualify.
Yes, they do.
Marine managers. Okay, great. And as well, this will support something which is supporting CSOs, which have SMEs in the protected areas develop sustainable livelihoods. Okay, perfect. All right, those are my 2 questions. Thank you so much.
Sure. But I would, again, check the guidelines and the operational manual, because they also define some of these things a little bit better for you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I may have one more question, sorry, about co-financing. Somebody from my office is asking, the BIOPAMA will provide a maximum of 95% of total eligible cost of the project. The applicants are required to provide a minimum of 5% co-financing, and this co-financing needs to be actual cash. It can't be co-financing from another project.
It can be financing from another project. It cannot be an EU-funded project.
Okay,
understood. But it has to be actual costs.
Right, so it's actual cash. It's not like co-financing in terms of in-kind time.
Correct, yes.
Okay,
and I will direct you to that presentation on the Action Portal, again, under Useful Resources. There's a specific presentation that deals with the budgetary aspect of the medium grants. So it will explain, it explains that in there clearly.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll take some time to just respond to the other questions that are here. So Silas wanted to know if the online application portal allows for multiple entries, start now, complete later. Yes, you have to hit the save button at the bottom of each page.
That was me, Hyacinth.
Oh, that was you. Okay, fair enough.
I'm using Silas's computer.
Okay, fair enough.
But I'm still a little unclear about the question I asked about the assessments, the ones that we are currently doing now. Because our idea was to try to complete these assessments at the soonest, but I know we have a time constraint. That's why I was asking whether we treat it separately or whether we do it as part of the application.
Because of the timing, right? Let me talk to you about that offline, if possible. Okay. But I know that assessments, you can include the implementation of an assessment can be included as an activity in the
implementation. Okay, I get you. I get you.
All right. Okay. In terms of the number of countries in our region, there are 15 countries that are eligible for
15.
1
point. Okay. Yeah.
The presentation will be shared. So once we are finished here, I will download the recording and make it available on the online, and I will provide you with the link to the.
Okay. All right.
All right. I answered Alexander's questions on marine managed areas and small and medium enterprises. Dane, how do we confirm eligibility of an international organization as an OECD organization? Okay, so Dane, I know this one is a very tricky one for myself, but they, I have it in frequently asked questions. This is something that came up for a lot of across all of the regions. On page 4 of the guidelines, there's a footnote that defines what the OECD organization is and should help to determine help in confirming whether your organization is eligible. I would ask you if you can to send me your specific question on this, because it is one that I am not very comfortable clarifying, but it is one that we can clarify. But the definition of how we determine an eligible international organization as an OECD organization is defined on page 4 of the guidelines, and there's a footnote that explains exactly what that is. So if after reading that you're still not clear, please email me to get further clarification.
Hi, good afternoon, Orisha here.
Hi, Orisha.
How are you? I just want to just make mention of something. I'm not too sure if other persons recognize, but I assume, it's only an assumption, I assume when there is a lot of people on the platform to work on the application, it slows down a lot and you have to keep on refreshing, or sometimes it doesn't refresh at all. So I don't know if it's something just to IT people, because I remember when I was started to fill out the application on the online portal, it's very, very slow. And it could have been because a lot of people visited the site, but it's just something to just maybe mention.
Okay, I will raise that with the ask that it be raised with the developer.
Yeah. Okay, or even logging into, like, if a lot of people trying to log in at the same time, which I assume happens to most portals, just so that you're not trying to send in a grant at 4:58.
Right. Exactly.
And take a lot of time to upload.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right. I will make a note of that to raise with them. Danelia, what do I need to upload for the PA Supervisory Authority? I'm not sure, Danelia. as a co-applicant or?
Hi, Hyacinth.
Hi, Daniela.
Sent you an email, but I haven't gotten a response on this. So
right. Actually, I have your email and started to respond to it. I was just seeking clarification on something, so you will get a response from me.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, fair enough. Ronald, I'm logged in, but I don't know where to navigate to access the presentation. This actual presentation, Ronald, is going to be shared. So this is a webinar and it's being recorded. Once we complete the session, which we will do in a few minutes, I will share it with you. What I am sharing with you right now is my online screen. So that is why you're able to see, but you can't navigate. You have to log into what you've logged into will not give you the actual presentation that I just gave. Okay, so I hope that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
No.
All right.
Where do we upload the logical framework? So if we go into the application, if it will load for me now, Marisha, you've
Loading.
Okay, so the logical framework is here. And actually, you don't upload it. You're actually supposed to input the information, but this is where we have a challenge at this point in time. So Denise, I don't know if you heard my response to an earlier query with respect to the logical framework, but we are aware that you cannot input information as it is right now here, and it's something that we have raised with the portal developer. So as soon as I have further information on the operability of this aspect, for you to be able to put in the logical framework, I will let you all know. And I think I've answered all my questions. Okay, so if there's no other, does anybody else have any questions? We have about 5 minutes before I can close off.
No, we just want to thank you for your patience and all the information and guidance you provided today.
Great, you're welcome. All right, so with that, I will close this session, and I want to thank you all for taking the time to attend and to show the interest that you have shown in this process. I'm hoping that it was useful, and as I said, if you have any queries, you can reach me at hyacinth.armstrongvaughan@iucn.org, and I will try my best to respond to your queries as best as possible. And the deadline for queries is the 14th of September, and the application deadline is the 21st of September. So once again, thank you everyone, and do have a good afternoon and evening wherever you are. Okay?
That's Hyacinth. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.